As we have shown you in previous videos, this is the Organized Change Strategy and Systems model. We have discussed framework questions and the choice of level. In this video, we will talk about implementation and evaluation of organizational change. As part of your planning and decision-making process, we suggest that you use our equation for success. This is a way of evaluating your potential implementation plans to see if they have all the parts necessary to increase the chances of completion. For organizational change to be successful, you need to be looking at 6 elements. The first is measurement. You must have a robust and clear measurement system, not only to be measuring the success of your implementation plan, but success of your organization. The second element is technique, that is, using the right level 1, 2, 3, and 4 that may be necessary and appropriate for you to do so to get the kind of effects you want. The third element is alignment, which is what we will talk about in a bit. The fourth element is control. That is, do you have sufficient power and techniques necessary to actually accomplish the tasks and plans that you have decided upon? Fifth element is focused persistence. That is, are you using good project management skills and techniques to develop and implement your plan? The sixth element is consensus. That is, to what degree do the stakeholders in your organization agree to your implementation plan, its goals, and its objectives? Measurement can be in 4 broad categories. The first is some kind of happiness index, such as subjective measures such as employee surveys, smiley face feedback on training, etc. The second is the completion of projects. That is, the organizations have projects related to organizational change and they have been successfully completed. The third is more objective, longer-term measures such as return on investment, reduction in turnover, and absenteeism. Fourth can be the corporate measures of success related to the balanced scorecard, such as return on equity and capital gains. It's important to realize what changes are made is just as important as how they are made. The graph gives you something of that idea. On the x-axis, you can see the severity of a problem based upon the assessment the steering committee does, which can range from low to high. You can also see the y-axis goes from a problem that only affects a few people to a problem that affects the whole company or organization. When a problem only affects a relatively few number of people and the severity of problem is relatively low, and there is relatively little urgent need for sudden change, incremental changes such as level 4 techniques can be used, just as hiring, firing, and implementing such systemic things as Six Sigma. If the severity of the problem affects a fair proportion of the organization and it affects several groups, level 3 changes might be necessary. These level 3 changes might include restructuring, major policy changes, or significant changes to compensation systems. Based upon an assessment, if the severity of a problem is high and it affects most of the organization, level 1 and level 2 changes might be necessary. As we have talked about before, these levels 1 and 2 are in the realm of redefining a mission, conducting a SWOT analysis, mergers, acquisitions, divestments, and significant outsourcing of non-core capabilities. This may also include the use of scenario planning that may put the current function or purpose of the organization to question, depending upon which scenario occurs. Let's elaborate here on the element of alignment. There has been much discussion in organizational change about how all parts of the organization must be aligned. Here, I'm more specific about what that might mean. The plan of action, organizational systems such as structure, information, work process, and employee selection, the change you are putting in place, and the business situations and goals all need to be reinforcing each other and pointed in the same direction. It is simply not enough for you to try to persuade people with a PowerPoint presentation that whatever change you are contemplating is important and they need to follow along. To be successful, alignment needs to be much deeper than that. Another element is control. Control can be categorized into those things you can control and those things that are outside of your control. You can also look at who is affected by what you are trying to accomplish. If you have full control and the effects of what you want to accomplish are just inside your organization, this is a good thing. On the other hand, if you need to make an organizational change that is within your control, but people in organizations outside yours are affected, then that has to be taken into consideration. Another situation is where things are out of your control, but your organization is still affected. In that particular case, you can always play the victim or simply try to take advantage of what the situation is or to whatever comes your organization's way. There may also be other aspects where you can control events, however, is that there is no need to be doing so, or that no one is affected by that. In that particular case, that is wasted effort. Focused persistence, that is, project management, is a critical factor in organizational change. To some extent, organizational change is a project like any other project. There are tasks to be done, deadlines to be met, resources to be assigned, and project progress monitored. Consensus has been much discussed in the organizational change literature, perhaps too much so. Sometimes there is so much emphasis on gathering consensus that little thought is given to other factors in organizational success, such as measurement, alignment, making the right changes, control, and good project management. The key to consensus is getting the stakeholders deeply involved in change management. As much as possible, they should be included in step 0, that is part of the steering committee that is guiding organizational change. They also can help formulate data gathering, provide information via surveys and interviews. And lastly and not leastly, they can be part of project implementation teams so that even though they are not part of the decision-making process, they can be part of implementation.